Barbra Streisand is known for being very private when it comes to her marriage to James Brolin. However, she reveals a ton of personal details in her recent memoir My Name is Barbra, where she dedicates a separate chapter to her relationship with her husband. She describes their first meeting at a dinner party, arranged by a friend, who believed they would be a good match. At the time, Barbra was deeply involved in editing The Mirror Has Two Faces, and wasn't sure she could make it to the party.
I didn't want to go to this dinner party. When Christine Peters called to invite me 2 weeks earlier, I told her I was in the midst of editing The Mirror Has Two Faces and had no time for parties, but she insisted. There was someone she wanted me to meet, James Brolin.
Barbra didn't know much about him, but it was definitely not a blind date, as both parties knew what the other looked like. This evening would change the rest of her life forever. It was July 1st, the night of the dinner, and Barbra almost forgot about the invitation. She rushed to her friend's house, but when she arrived, she saw way too many people than she expected. Her shyness kicked in, and she quickly proceeded to the basement to greet her other friends.
On the way, I caught a glimpse of a man leaning against the far wall, talking to someone, and I thought, is that him? But where was the mountain man I was expecting, with the beard and the mustache and the dark wavy hair?
Jim was clean-shaven and had a short haircut, not what the 54-year-old legend expected to see. He smiled in recognition of Barbra, and she waved back. She spent a good chunk of time playing with her friend's children in the basement until the host called everyone upstairs for the meal. Only one chair wasn't taken, and that chair was next to Jim's chair. As she was passing behind him, she felt the urge to run her fingers through his hair, a behavior very unusual for her.
But now I lightly ran my fingers through Jim's buzz cut and asked, "Who f***ed up your hair?"
Jim was immediately impressed by Barbra's raw honesty. As he told her later, he met a lot of people in Hollywood who lie. This is why Barbra's honesty struck him like a lightning. That was the start of a long conversation from architecture to relationships, the conversation that they didn't want to end. Neither one of them talked to any other guests that night. But Barbra had to come back to editing The Mirror Has Two Faces, so after 2 hours of talking with Jim, she had to excuse herself.
Jim said, "I'm taking you home." I said, "Thanks, but my assistant Renata is coming back with the car and I have to work. I have 2 editors waiting for me." He said, "Tell him to go home." Now it was my turn to be impressed. Here was a man I barely knew taking charge. And the amazing thing is that I went along with it.
They continued their conversation at Barbra's home, and before they knew it, it was 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was time to say goodbye. Both Barbra and Jim sensed that night that there was a possibility for something bigger there.
I know I went to bed with a smile on my face because I wrote it down in my journal. I also noted that he was very nice, attractive, manly, and he had great teeth.